All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Bahashim Rakakwadash. I want to give double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth in all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. This is your fellow servant, Rakaya from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another impromptu lesson. This is just going to be a brief, impromptu, just something I was meditating on my way home from camp, and that's the comfort in knowing Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. There's comfort in knowing the Lord. At this point in the game, we're past the stage of belief. All right, we know Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai is a man of his word, and we know the Lord is moving on our behalf. We know the Lord is intervening, for the elect's sake. There's no comfort, really in belief. Jake believe a whole lot of things. Really where that comfort resides is in knowledge. A lot of, even in a worldly sense, you're comforted by things that belief is skeptical. We know Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. We know the word of the Lord is true. And we know that the Lord is a strong tower, all right, a protector. All right, he's our offense and our defense. These are the things that we're coming to know, and like it says in Romans, the 14th chapter, every man is now being persuaded in his own mind. The Lord is causing every man to come to that full realization, of what we're a part of. And through the Spirit, we're all being persuaded of the magnificence of Yahushua, the importance of Yahushua, the importance of his death, the importance of his ministry, the importance of the word that he left behind, for the apostles and the disciples, the comfort that he left behind, and in his last words, it is finished. Be of good cheer, I have overcame the world. All right, there's comfort in knowing the word of the Lord. As we walk around Babylon the Great, we exercise, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and then more and more that we exercise the wisdom of the Lord, the more and more we know that it works. We know that it works. We know that we're sons of the power. We know who the enemy is. We know the power in application. And these are the things that, we ultimately glory in. We glory in the knowledge of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. Because all of this worldly, this worldly knowledge, this worldly shit really doesn't amass to anything. You have Jakes out here that know how to add up numbers to infinity. How to do crazy mathematical problems. They may know a lot about the herbs or know a lot about the human body and health and psychology. But all of that knowledge doesn't amass to the knowledge of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai. And that's something that we're starting to see, being more and more precious and glorified in the earth. Because people are seeking to the prophets. People are seeking to those who know and understand the will of the Lord. You go to these different podcasts, brothers are just talking about how, you have these different economic forecasters and financial advisors, your Jill Salentes, Richard Wolfs, guys that, brothers frequent a lot for, different news and prophecy's sake. Even going into some athletes, some of the podcasts that they have, some of these comedians, a lot of them are going into points that the prophets have been speaking about for years, starting with our elders, apostles of Great Millstone on down. They're now going into topics, going into prophecy, going into the mark of the beast, going into the visage of Yahushai, the true visage of Yahushai. And these were not talking points before the prophets entered the scene. Nobody was inspecting the Bible. Nobody was diving deep into the Bible and getting the proper understanding. That came through the men that the Lord set up, the pastors according to his heart, pursuant to Jeremiah 3:15. Those who would know and understand the Lord. And then there lies comfort, because alongside the knowledge of the Lord comes the understanding of his will and our purpose and the role that we play in the Lord's movie. At the end of the day, we understand that through much tribulation, we shall enter into the kingdom. And after that tribulation, even in the midst of that tribulation, the Lord is going to uplift the standard in the elect, to where they'll be able to withstand whatever judgment that the Lord sees fit to bestow upon them, whether it be through life or death. The Lord is going to uplift a standard, like it says in Isaiah 59:19, so that the elect may be able to overcome and get the victory. And in understanding that, you get the mindset of the 7 sons, who even in the face of peril, understood that there was a resurrection for the righteous, understood that the righteous would never be cut off. And on this go around, Esau is going to try to cut the righteous off, but the Lord's not going to allow it. The Lord's not going to allow it. And after this tribulation, after this rough period, all right, there's going to be glory bestowed upon the elect from Yahushua for standing stiffly, for enduring, for overcoming. There's going to be a reward of righteousness, the reward of sitting at the Lord's table, the reward of being crowned by Yahushua himself, the reward of drinking wine new with Yahushua, being a part of the first fruits, that new Jerusalem coming down. And they got these motorcycles going. But, there's comfort in understanding that. And there was an importance for Yahushua to leave that comfort for the remnant, because we operate the best when we're at peace. And Babylon is giving us nothing. Babylon is giving us nothing but hell and tribulation, hardship, trauma. Babylon was designed to take us out of our peace. And the Lord restored that peace by the word, like it says in 2 Thessalonians, the 1st chapter. All right, the Lord has caused us to rest with him. And now as we've rested our minds and our spirits, in Yahushua's bosom, we operate as a well-oiled machine through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. We're operating at full capacity now, because we found peace through Yahushua, peace of mind, peace of spirit. We're no longer in a state of unease, groping, searching to fill that void. The void has been filled, and now that the void has been filled, now we're able to operate at full capacity through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. And that comfort was needed. What Yahushua did, what Yahushua said, the words that he left behind were needed for the elect, the remnant, to hear, to read again, so that they will remember. It will spark something in their spirit to remember the words that Yahushua bestowed upon them, in the ancient world, and to assume their duty again, to walk in the same knowledge again, that the Lord will fulfill the promises made to our forefathers. He will perform the word, that was said aforetime. And he will get the victory over death, over our enemies. The victory will be gotten. There's great comfort in knowing the Lord, man. And that's why elders and apostles, constantly stress the importance of reading, studying, diving deeper into the word, diving deeper into our office, occupying ourselves in the office. Because as we occupy ourselves more and more in Yahushua, more and more comfort that we receive. And the comfort of Yahushua is far more beneficial than the comfort of this world. Because if you're comfortable in this world, you're gonna die. It's only a matter of time. You're gonna get weak and you're gonna die. That's all that the comfort of this world offers. A quick path to death. But the comfort of Yahweh Shai, allows for growth. That peace that the words of Yahweh Shai facilitate allow us to grow spiritually and mentally. And then we're able to add unto the body, be productive members of the ministry. With that being said, that's all I had. Lord, once edifying unto you elect, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rakakwadash, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Grace and peace to you elect around the four winds, believing and pushing this truth and all sincerity. May the blessing of election be upon your houses. Shalom. Stay up.